Hey there, scumbags. It's me, your old flirtatious, half-balding pal, Andrew Fantasia. Welcome to High Ground here on the Summer of Legends. Alright, last time on the Summer of Legends, I showed you the Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels, both versions, and a little treat, the Essential Guide to Weapons and Technology. And those books were pretty cool. But I was always a lore kind of guy. I didn't really care about the ships that much. I wanted to know more about the people who drove said ships, flew said ships. I don't know. I don't know the nomenclature. What I do know is who Sala Zend is. And if you don't know who Sala Zend is, buckle the F up. All right, folks, this is the Essential Guide to Characters. This is the second of these guidebooks that I ever owned. I bought that Vehicles one first, and I was like, oh, that's cool and everything, but I really want to know who's driving. I don't really care about what they're driving. Tell me who's behind the wheel. So I got the Essential Guide to Characters. Now, this came out in 1995, so this one is even older. So let's take a peek. We're just going to rip into this right now, metaphorically, because I don't want to literally rip any of this. And it's alphabetical order, because of course it is. That's the way I want to live my life. We're going to start off with Admiral Ackbar. And here we go. We've got these drawings, and we've got mixes between them. For example, there's artwork of Akbar, and there's an image of Akbar, and he's got a hat. So that's clearly some kind of behind-the-scenes image, which is neat. Now, this book was written by somebody named Andy Mangels, but it doesn't say who did the art. So either he did all the art himself as well, or I think what may have happened, and don't quote me on this because I don't know for sure, but I think that all these main pictures of these characters are pulled from the Star Wars West End Games role-playing game source books, because they were the same kind of thing. They were this very old school looking black and white art printed on this like kind of cheap newsprint paper. That's just how source books were back then. It's nobody's fault. So I think that's where these come from. But again, I could be wrong. But regardless, there's Wedge. And he is glorious. Look at these pictures of Wedge. He's never looked better. And then, as you'll see, just like with the vehicles, we'll have characters like Wedge and like Akbar. And then we'll have characters who clearly did not take off, like Bodo Baas. I don't know anything about Bodo Baas, so if you do, tell me. Well, actually, all I have to do is read this and I'll know everything about Bodo Baas. Apparently, he's from Dark Empire number 5, and his death is unknown. There we go. And you've got these guys there, Ponda Baba, Dr. Evazan. This book came out around the same time as those very popular Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, Tales of the Bounty Hunters, Tales from Jabba's Palace, those novels, which were super, super popular, and they really brought these characters to life from the screen to our homes, as it were. Those books are the reason we know Ponda Baba's name is Ponda Baba, either that or the West End Games thing. So that's why they're going to be covered here a lot. Same deal with Barada. He was from the Jabba's Palace thing. This guy is from Han Solo at Star's End. Very, very old school character. Then you got your Bosks. All the Bosks of the world rejoice. 3PO and R2 are clustered together for some reason. Even though this is alphabetical, they put R2-D2 with C-3PO, I guess, because that's just how they always were. You know, back then there was no such thing as one without the other. We didn't know that they would meet on Tatooine and spend 10 years apart. So we got them together as one. And as you'll see, as I'm flipping the page here, yes, once again, we've got drawings and we've got still images, but then we've also got what's clearly images pulled from the Droids animated series. Look at that. That's definitely from Droids. So again, nice, healthy mixture. I like that a lot. There's Callista. She's from Children of the Jedi. She is a girl who Luke fancied once upon a time. He thought she was very pretty and wanted her phone number. I don't know if anything ever came of that, but we know Mara Jade eventually took Luke's hand in marriage, so I don't think Callista ever saw the light of day again, unfortunately. And there's Lando Calrissian, baby, rocking the cape. Nice big spread on Mr. Lando. Look at that. Look at that smile. And then, of course, lots of other characters like this, like Gariel Captison, who was from the Truce at Bakura, and probably not much else because she has a very short page about her. But what I love so much about these books is that they are time capsules. These characters will probably never see the light of day again, so I'm glad that there's something like this around for us to remember them. I'm glad they won't be forgotten because, you know what? Somebody took the time to make Gariel Captason. Let's preserve her for posterity, even if it's just in this little one-page thing. Joris Cabeath, who is from the Timothy Zahn novels. Chewbacca. Everybody loves a good Chewbacca. There you go. Another great example of a character who didn't really take off too much. Queen Mother Ta Chume. She was in more than Gariel Captason, but still, it's nice that she gets a page. It's nice that she's not forgotten. Nobody's ever going to forget Salacious Crumb, so we don't even need to see him. Admiral Dalla is a character who stuck around for a long-ass time. She was in a bunch of the Legends stories. I think she lasted pretty much all the way to the very, very end when Legends ended and Disney took over. She was still kicking. So Admiral Dalla had a good almost 20 years under her belt of being a character. And she started in the Jedi Knight trilogy. So there you go. Dalla's a big deal. So is Figrin Dan and his band. And Biggs Darklighter with the most epic mustache in the whole wide world. Dengar's okay. Another cool-looking character who didn't make it too far, Tenennial Joe. And I love that despite the fact that you have these very limiting black and white portraits, the artist did a great job. Like, you can tell quite a bit about this lady just from what has been drawn here. So very, very cool stuff. And if you want to know more about Tenennial Joe, just read The Courtship of Princess Leia, because that's her first appearance. I don't know if she had any more appearances, but you'll definitely find her in there. And there's Jan to Donna, getting a nice 2-page spread, which is probably more than he even got in the movie. Good for you, Jan to Donna. Morith Duel, who is from the Jedi Academy trilogy. I remember Morith Duel. Dorsk 81, also from that trilogy. Luke trained him. Luke also trained Kip Duran, who is rocking a very cool-looking 80s thrash metal haircut. He's going to start an album, and that's going to be the album cover. You got a Royal Guard. You got Davin Felth, the stormtrooper, who says, "Look, sir, droids." He didn't really take off too much either. Boba Fett, on the other hand. Nice little spread about all the tales of Boba Fett. Borschphalia, another long-running Legends character who really stuck around almost right to the bitter end. Borschphalia was there for a while. Bib Fortuna. I don't think we've seen the last of Bib Fortuna. I think he's coming back in like Mandalorian or something. There's Forlom. There's Galandro, who is kind of a proto-Beckett, sort of. Yarnadal Gargan, Gurinden. See, we wouldn't know their names if it wasn't for books like this. That's why I love books like this. There's a Gamorrean. There's a crazy, scary witch named Gethzarian. There's a guy named Greedo. We all know and love Greedo. I don't know and love Hethreer, but if I wanted to, I could read Star Wars The Crystal Star, whatever the hell that is, and I would find out all kinds of things about Hethreer, who is apparently working for the Empire. That's what these little symbols mean. He is an Imperial character. He is a Rebel character. And as you can see here, Greedo has no political affiliation, so he does not get a little icon next to his name. Sorry, Greedo. IG-88, of course. Roganda and Eric Ismarin, they're very interesting. Prince Isolder almost married Princess Leia, then he didn't. Jabba the Hutt also almost married Princess Leia, then he didn't. Or at least he wanted to, but he got more Leia than he bargained for. There's Mara Jade, who did marry Luke Skywalker, and this is when she was relatively new, so there's not much on her, but still enough to warrant a 2-page spread. Got an up-close and personal look at Mara Jade there. She's looking kind of young, to be honest. She looks kind of like a little kid. That's probably one of the first times they showed her in an image, I think. Then you got some other great little forgotten characters that I'm glad won't be forgotten as long as books like this stay around. There's Talon Card. He was a big deal. He was Mara Jade's homie, Scoundrel Man. This, you know what? I actually want to pause and I want to read parts of this page to you. I want to read to you about Ken, because I find this really interesting, and you'll see why. So let's pause, and I'm going to read some of this to you. So, Ken, the grandson of Emperor Palpatine, the young Jedi named Ken lived sheltered deep in the bowels of the lost city of the Jedi until a brush with the Alliance unraveled his past and his future. Ken was the son of Palpatine's three-eyed mutant offspring, Triclops, and a Jedi princess, Kendalina. Triclops had been imprisoned in the Imperial Asylum of Kessel, where Kendalina had been forced into servitude. The two fell in love and conceived a child. Sometime after Ken's birth, Kendalina was killed. A brown-robed Jedi Master took the child to the Lost City deep underground on Yavin 4. There, he was to be trained to reject his heritage and to embrace the light side of the Force. The only reminder Ken had of his father was half of a silver birth crystal he wore around his neck. The other half was on a silver chain around Triclops' neck, etc., 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 Ken had several adventures alongside the heroes of the Alliance, but was destined to collide with his unknown past. Huh. All right, back to where we started. There's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And as I was flipping through this earlier, I was thinking, this is weird. Something is missing from this Obi-Wan thing. And then I realized what it was. It's that there was no Ewan McGregor at this point. There was no young Obi-Wan. So all the pictures are just Alec Guinness versions of Obi-Wan, which is really interesting. And I don't remember what it says about his youth. Oh, but right here, look, records of Kenobi's youth are spotty. It is not known where he grew up. So it's, you know, there's not really any information about young Obi-Wan. They didn't tackle that back then. I really like what they say about him at the end, though, when he says goodbye to Luke and he can't, you know, force ghost to him anymore. He says, I loved you as a son and as a student and as a friend. Until we meet again, may the force be with you. That's beautiful. If only that could be the last thing we say to everybody we love, right? There's a scary person. There's Princess Kneesaa, the Ewok princess from the Ewoks cartoon. So they are really included in everything. Because back then, everything wasn't a whole lot. It was enough to fill this decent-sized book, but they had to dive into the Ewoks cartoon to do it. And that's not all the depths they plumbed, you'll see as we carry on. Exar Kun, he was a big deal in the Old Republic. He was a bad Sith dude, enough to warrant 4 pages. I guess the Old Republic comics were really taken off at that point. There's Labria, a cool character that I don't think we've seen enough of. I love the Lars family. I definitely haven't seen enough of the Lars family. I want more of them. There's Lobot, being sexy as ever. Lobaka, that's a Wookiee, folks. General Crix Madine, still posing, still with a beard. I really like this alien species, the Shevan. I hope we see them again. And then we got a nice detail about Mon Mothma, which I bet you doesn't really mention much about the prequels because they didn't know the prequels, but it probably says some things about the Old Republic and the Senate and whatnot. And that's Mon Mothma, and there's Mr. Nadon himself, who also gets 2 pages. Shug Ninx. You want to know more about Shug Ninx? There you go. Oh, there's lots more about Shug Ninx. Hetnikik the Jawa, who had a whole little story in the Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. There's Mr. Num. There's Miss Ula, the dancing girl. She's got a page. That's impressive. Good job, Ula. All right, see, now we're getting to the good stuff here. And again, they don't really talk much about his youth, but Palpatine's rise to power was a long one. It's very vague because they knew that something was coming. So they just kind of kept it vague. But what's interesting is on the next page, you're going to see a picture of Palpatine as a young man, younger than he was in Phantom Menace. And looking at it hurts me because it's really weird. It's jarring. Here we go. Are you ready? That is something else. That's something else. I don't know what to make of that. That just, yeah. That hashtag not my Palpatine? I don't know. I'll take this Palpatine over that any day. Wow. Interesting. Gilad Pelion, he stuck around a long time in Legends. He was from the Thrawn books as well. He lasted almost right to the very end. I think he died in like the second last book or something. Spoilers. But that's Gilad Pelion. Ula Keldroma, who was also in those Old Republic things with Exar Kun. He was a big deal. There's the Max Rebo band without Joe Yauza, so really they're not as good. Ree's, okay. Relau, okay. All these great characters that are just kind of forgotten by time, like Elder Sticketh and Dev Sibwara. You guys have probably heard me mention Dev Sibwara's name on Rebel Scum before, just because I always remember this page in this book, and I always think about him as like my go-to Legends character who doesn't matter anymore. What's he from? The Truce of Bakura. And he died after the battle for Bakura, so he's literally only from the Truce of Bakura. There's his 1 page of info. Sorry, Dev Sabora. There's the Wolfman. The Wolfman was still kicking. There's Mr. Skywalker. That's a cool picture of him. He looks like he's playing baseball. A little spread on Luke, and it's very fitting he got 6 pages because he's Luke Skywalker. Then you get into the Solo kids. There's Anakin Solo. There's Mr. Han Solo with a nice spread of his own. And then the twins, Jason and Jaina. These pictures too. I guess Jason and Jaina, it was hard to find photos of them, so I think all the pictures had to be created for this book. Here is Miss Leia Organa Solo. That is a very cool drawing of her choking out Jabba. Looks like that's from a comic or something, because that's really nicely done. Mako Spince. Look at that hair. That is a hairdo. Nomi Sunrider, she was in the Old Republic comics, and I remember she got name dropped in Knights of the Old Republic, the video game. Jolie Bindo talked about her, and when he did, I started freaking out. I was like, oh my god, that's the lady from the Essential Guide to Characters. She's even on the cover. There she is. That's her on the cover. And she's like front and center too. Look at that. So when they said Nomi Sunrider's name in that game, I had a fanboy moment and I just went nuts. So there's Nomi Sunrider. I couldn't tell you a thing about her. I don't remember, but it's all here. She looks like a cool lady. There's Mr. Tarkin. You may fire when ready. That's what he says. That's his only line in the whole movie. That's a great image. I always remember this image of him with Vader. There's just something really haunting about that. Very cool stuff. Tessek. I love the Corrin. I'm glad we got some Corrin back. Somebody named Peter Thanas. I think he needs to buy a vowel. I don't know what this dude's deal is. Trusa Bikura. Okay, that's why I don't know him. Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, these drawings of Thrawn are a little weird. This one is just odd. It doesn't look like Thrawn. It just looks like a guy, I guess, without blue, without any color. It's hard to really nail down an image of Thrawn. But once I turn the page, you're going to see the Thrawn that I always had in my head. And, well, it's Christopher Walken, right? I'm not crazy. It's a blue Christopher Walken. He's the Grand Admiral of the Imperial Navy. That's my Thrawn that I picture in my head. That's what I've had in my head for 25 years, up until Rebels came out. Then Rebels changed my visual perception of Thrawn, but before Rebels, it was this. Do with that information what you will. But yeah, there's Christopher Walken Thrawn. There's Tigress, who took off so much that they had to actually stop talking about Tigress because he was too popular. Tion is very cool. I believe she's a Jedi from the Dark Apprentice book. Yeah, and she's got an electric guitar. She's like a bard, a Jedi bard. Amazing. Why is this not a thing in a movie? The Tonica Sisters, who were actually assassins, I think. Look at this. Brock, James, you listening? You listening? Sindel Tawani, baby. Look at this. She got her own drawing. And I think it's funny that her expression is exactly the same here and here. She just looks bored. Triclops, who I mentioned as the father of Ken, the son of Palpatine. There's a Tuscan Raider. There's Darth Vader, which rhymes with Tuscan Raider, so I'm glad he's next. They did a good job of drawing him here. When you only have black and white to work with, how the hell do you draw Vader? The answer? Like this. This is great. This is why this person is a professional artist, because they made this look good using only black and white. I don't know who she is, but she's cool looking. There's Vima Deboda, another crazy witch. There's a Weequay, and there's Mr. Warwick. So good to see you, Wicket. There's Winter. She was in the Heir to the Empire books, and I think she's canon again, unless I'm mistaken. I think I remember them kind of alluding to her being back in, like, Last Shot or something. I could be wrong. I'd have to double check that. Quizux. She stuck around for a while, I think. Quizux became a big deal. Yoda. He was always a big deal. And there's Salazend. That is a haircut. That looks like a 90s comic character if I've ever seen one. And that's exactly what she is, because she's from Dark Empire, which is a comic. Yeah, Salazend is a 90s comic character for sure. You can just tell by her outfit. And there is Mr. Zuckuss, looking wonderful as usual. And that is the Essential Guide to Characters. And then there's other stuff here in the back that I don't even remember. Star Wars Insider, that's what that is. And then it's trying to sell you other things. And there's the West End Games that I wish I had. I wish I had collected those in my youth. And that's that. But of course, that's just the old one. All right, this, of course, is the new Essential Guide to Characters. This one's by Daniel Wallace with illustrations in full color this time by Michael Sutphin. And just like the Vehicles one, it's updated for Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones and the New Jedi Order, but no Revenge of the Sith, which means General Grievous is not in this book, which means this book can go in the garbage. All right, let's flip this open and see what we've got in store. Already, we've got color, so we're in for something a little different. Once again, you have to start with Admiral Ackbar, and already on the first entry, you can tell how much nicer this is just going to look. You've got, first of all, better paper quality. It's much glossier paper. And then you've got these beautiful full color illustrations that really just pop off the page. Akbar looks great. Michael Sutphin's illustrations are very interesting. They're like nothing else I've seen. They're a mix between looking like a cartoon and looking like live action. I really can't describe them any other way, but they look awesome. There's Padme. All right, look, we've already got a prequel character up there. That's an odd outfit to choose for Padme, because when I think Padme, I don't think this. I think like the the yellow and pink one that she wore on Naboo during the sand monologue, or I don't know, just something a bit more colorful and vibrant. This is not what I think of, but hey, at least it's Padme, and it looks good, and it's in color. I will take it. There's Nama Noor, a Yuuzhan Vong, one of a few Yuuzhan Vong characters are going to pop up in this. He's a schemer. You can tell. That is the face of a man who schemes. There's Wedge Antilles, again, looking great. The colors, gorgeous. They could not be more vibrant. He's got the Rebellion Thunderbird behind him, because of course. Darth Bane. He clearly plays a lot of Bejeweled. He's looking snazzy. And how great is it that Jar Jar Binks gets a 2-page spread in this book? Look at that smile. That's probably one of my favorite images of Jar Jar. And then we've got Bossk here. I noticed that Michael Sutphin, the illustrator, does something really interesting where he does a lot of these dynamic profiles. There's a lot of them in this, where there's a character who's just facing the other way, but then they just kind of have this very dynamic pose to their profile. It happens a lot. It's an interesting method of drawing these characters. Brachus. I don't know who Brachus is, but he wears a lot of red, and he looks good doing it. And there's 1 page. I lied. Sorry, 2 pages about Brachus. Shira Bree. She was another Emperor's Hand before Mara Jade, I think. And we got Mr. C-3PO looking snazzy, and I love that they included the variant 3PO when he was being built. Like, why not? Beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, there's Callista from before, and man, Michael Sutphin really makes this lady look pretty. That is a good-looking lady. I am a little bit upset that she's only an illustration. Lando Calrissian, once again, speaking of good-looking people. Look at that man. And once again, you have a second drawing, switch it up, do the variant. They did the variant. Great stuff. Carriole Captison, we saw her before, looking even snazzier now. That is a great picture of this character. It makes me want to know more about her. Taiko Celchu, I always remember his name, but I don't remember what he does. I think he is some kind of pilot or something. I don't know. Chewbacca, we all know his deal, though. And actually, this came out right around the time that Chewbacca died in the Legends books. I think it mentions it here at the end of his story here. Yeah, the moon slammed into the planet, but Chewbacca stood unbowed, his final breath, a hoarse roar of challenge. Aw, poor Chewie. There's Admiral Dalla again. And I think there's something interesting that the illustrator did as well, is when there was characters who didn't really have a face to their name, it looks like he cast roles for them. Like Dalla, if I zoom in on her, that looks like Julianne Moore, right? I'm not alone in thinking that. That is Julianne Moore in an Imperial outfit. So that's something cool that you don't see too often. The Daragon siblings, I believe, they're Old Republic as well. You can tell by their outfits. And this book has Gavin Darklighter, but it doesn't have Biggs Darklighter, which means this whole thing can go right in the garbage. And there's Dengar. That's probably one of the best pictures of Dengar ever painted. Like, he looks really cool there. It's hard to make Dengar look cool, but Michael Sutphin found a way. General Donna, once again, getting a 2-page spread. Donna's getting a lot of love. He got more love for his little appearance in A New Hope than Count Dooku did, who was brand new, because remember, Attack of the Clones just came out. Count Dooku, a brand new character who they usually like to feature in these things, only has 1 page. That's really interesting. Then you got Droma, who was the replacement after Chewie died. He became the new Falcon co-pilot. Clearly not as beloved. And there's a Hutt with a birthmark. And there's Kip Duran looking much cooler than he did in his Rockstar picture in the other one. Here he's got this very medieval looking garb on. I like that a lot. He looks like he's straight out of Legend of Zelda or something. Very sweet. Forlom, colorful. I love it. Baron Fell, one of the best Imperial fighter aces ever. And he took off and became a big character, and his family became a big deal. He had a son named Jagged, who ended up hooking up with Jaina solo, and I think he had another couple kids as well. The Fell family became the most prominent non-Skywalker family in Legends. The Fells were a very, very big deal. And it all started with him. Beautiful, beautiful drawings of Boba Fett. Oh, these are gorgeous. Look at those. And there's Django. Interestingly, they chose to do it without the helmet. That's a bold choice. Borschphalia again, getting a nice spread because he is an important character. So is Bib Fortuna. That's Rokor Gupta, the sorcerer who fought Lando Calrissian. There is Mr. Greedo once again. Newt Gunray. I love this guy. I'm glad he got a nice spread. He's so often forgotten, but I don't think he should be. He is a prequel villain who lasted 3 movies. That's impressive. Corrin Horn, he stuck around right to the very end of Legends as well. He was a Jedi who taught under Luke Skywalker. Luke taught him the ways of the Force. He was there right for the end of the story, if I remember right. There's IG-88. Isan Isard. Now, she was interesting because she was a villain for a long time. I think she was a villain in the X-Wing books. I love the idea of an Imperial officer in red. I am shocked that the Final Order and the Rise of Skywalker didn't do that. I am shocked because that looks really cool. Look at that. There's Prince Isolder again. Actually, not as good a photo as they had in the other one, surprisingly. Mr. Jabba the Hutt. Now, this was cool. So you had the first two prequels that introduced a bunch of Jedi. I guess they wanted the book to be a decent length. They didn't want it to be too long. So instead of giving every one of them their own page, they have a category here for the Jedi Council members that you saw in the Council in Phantom Menace. And there's little paragraphs about all of them. So you get to learn about all the Phantom Menace Council members. And then after that is the Jedi from the Battle of Geonosis for Attack of the Clones. And then all the ones that you meet there tells you about them. There's Jarek, the villain from the Jedi Knights games. I think that's what they're called. Qui-Gon Jinn. That's a great picture of Qui-Gon Jinn. He looks fantastic there. That's so cool. Kir Kanos. I wish I knew more about this guy because that's just an awesome looking dude. I think he was an Imperial Guard who did his own thing. The one thing that this book doesn't do that the other one does, it's a shame, is the other one said what their first appearance was. This doesn't say that, which I wish they did that. I want to know where he's from. I want to read about Kir Kanos. So hope the third book, if there ever is one, gets that part right. There's Talon Card. Very cool looking dude, even though his very simple outfit. Kyle Katarn, the playable character from Jedi Knight. And there's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Nice mix between Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness. Very cool. Queller. I don't know who Queller is, but that's a hell of an outfit, sir. XR Kuhn downgraded. He had 4 pages in the other one. Now he's got 1. He's less important now as time has gone by. Still, he gets a page. That's something. War Master Tsavon La, who is kind of like the Darth Vader of the Yuuzhan Vong. Just a very fierce, unstoppable warrior. Took a few books to take him down. I think Mara Jade killed him. There's Owen and Beru. Love those two. I want to see more of them. Bevel Lemelisk, he was the precursor to Galen Erso. He was the architect. You can see he's holding some schematics. He helped build the Death Star, except I don't think he was a good guy. I don't think he was putting flaws in the plans and everything. I think he was just like, here's a Death Star. Now where's my money? I think he was just greedy. There's Lobot. Stud. Absolute stud. You rock, Lobot. Garrick Face Lauren. I don't know who this character is, but I'm going to zoom in on that face because I'll tell you what that looks like. That looks like Scott Farkas from A Christmas Story. That's what I see. And speaking of complete studs, General Crix Maydeen, there's a beard. I need to zoom in on that beard. Yeah, that's how you grow facial hair. Darth Maul, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful picture of Darth Maul. Mon Mothma, of course. Boss Nass, he got a page. I'm glad he got a page. That's a cool picture of Boss Nass, too. Nine Num, awesome. Nim, he was a playable character in the Starfighter game. Great. He's a cool-looking alien, too. I like that alien. Rick Ollier, there's the blockade. This guy's just fantastic. If they want to bring him back, that actor, and bring Rick Ollier back into the forefront of things, I'm okay with that. Imagine he shows up in the Obi-Wan show. Yes, please. Now, there's something kind of interesting here. They show you Palpatine as he is, as a senator, just looking like an unassuming guy. And then they show you Return of the Jedi Palpatine, who is clearly the evil emperor. Keep that in mind, okay? Because something's going to happen later in this book that's kind of funny that they did that. So there you go. Nice drawings. Captain Panaka, great drawing of Panaka. I'm still waiting for my Black Series of Panaka, Hasbro. And if you want to make his jerkin actually made of leather, I think I'd pay extra for that. Maybe. I don't know. Gilad Pelion, once again, mainstay in Legends. Very, very important character in Legends. Sac Pistage was interesting. I don't know if he's canon anymore. I think Aftermath might have brought him up. I think he's still around somewhere. But Sac Pistage was the only person that could have been considered the Emperor's friend. He was sort of the Jafar to the Emperor's Sultan. He was just kind of his advisor, whispering in his ear. And he was a cool sounding character. Like, I want to know more about Sac Pistage. I think he's canon. It looks like they kind of took his look and gave it to those Navigator people who hang around with Snoke. So I'm really curious to know if this guy is ever going to come back in any meaningful way. And there's Mr. Piet, just a standout Imperial officer. You gotta love Piet. And then pod racer pilots, of course. You can't not have pod racer pilots, and it goes through everybody and gives everybody a little paragraph to shine. Ula Keldroma, the design on those Old Republic guys is fantastic. R2-D2, the best D2 in my opinion. Dash Rendar, I'm not a fan of this drawing because Dash Rendar in this drawing is a very clean-shaven young man, and the Dash Rendar that I know and played as in Shadows of the Empire had a whole lot of scruff. It wasn't Crix Madine scruff, but it was something. This is nothing. So that's a strange Dash Rendar. Hashtag not my Dash. Naga Sadow, that's a very ancient Sith Lord. He's one of the first Sith Lords. That is so cool. You can plunder his tomb in Knights of the Old Republic. Oh god, I want to know more about this guy. I want some movies set in that era. Thraken Sal Solo, he is Han Solo's cousin, and he was an asshole, apparently. And he survived for a long, long time before they killed him off. And there's Mr. Sebulba. Executor Cedrus, I don't know who you are, but you look frightening, and I'm not going to come near you. That's all I have to say about that. Senator Vicky Shesh, she was working for the New Republic, but she was actually a spy working in secret for the Yuuzhan Vong, and she betrayed the New Republic. So, screw you, Vicky Shesh. You really messed up the New Republic. Thanks for doing that. I like your clothes, though. You are a stylish, stylish woman. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. There is a page for Darth Sidious, as if we didn't know he was the same person as Emperor Palpatine. That's weird. That is weird. Like, I'm happy because it's more Sidious for me to read about, but I just thought that was kind of strange. There's Wraith Sienar, who owns Sienar Fleet Systems, who makes all the TIE fighters and whatnot. Aura Singh, she was already gaining popularity at this point. Go Aura. And then there's Anakin Skywalker, and then, of course, Mr. Darth Vader himself. I wish that was a bigger picture because it is such a nice picture of Vader, but I'll take what I can get. There's Luke. Again, 2 pictures of Luke, so they go through the trouble of making them as vastly different as possible. There's Mara Jade Skywalker. She is a cool-looking lady. I really wish we got more of her in canon. And now there's Anakin Solo, and then there is Han Solo. He looks great. Look at that. He's riding that Tauntaun like nobody's business. Jason Solo. And they did a really good job with the Solo twins. The artist did a great job making them look like they really were DNA-wise connected to Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher. Like, look, there's Jason. All right, and there's Jaina. Tell me you don't see a bit of Carrie in that. That's great. And then, of course, we get Leia in her Bespin outfit, which is a really cool outfit. You don't see her in too often, but I'm glad they stuck her in that. And there is Cam Salusar. I don't know much about Cam, but he's got a purple lightsaber, so he's okay in my books. So is Nil Spar, because he's holding an eyeball. That's all I know about Nil Spar. Grand Moff Tarkin making a fist. Booster Tarek, he was a mechanic, I think. He was in a few of the Legends books. He stuck around. Bria Theron is neat. She is kind of the precursor to Kira. She was in the Han Solo books. She fell in love with Han. They fell in love with each other. Then she kind of turned and ran away from him and did her own thing. And I think she joined some shady organizations. Like right here, you can see she led a task force called Red Hand. Kira led a criminal force called Crimson Dawn. There's something going on there. This was Proto-Kira. And I think it's very interesting that she got her own page here. Even though she was already around when the old book had come out. So that's a very fascinating page to be in this book. There is Thrawn, finally looking blue. Thankfully, much better. Thrawn just visually, as much as I'm not a huge fan of his books, visually he's just such a striking character. Valorum does not get enough love. General Veers, who survived the Battle of Hoth, so he's probably still kicking, unless the comics killed him off. I can't remember now. And then we got Vergere, who was a very enigmatic character who was very, very good and then became very, very evil or something. I don't know. She has a very complicated history. There's Quinlan Voss. There's Mr. Watto. What a great picture of Watto. I'm so happy that picture exists. And we got a bunch more prequel characters. We got Zam Wessel. We got Mace Windu rocking the purple. We got Prince Shizor. Look at the colors on this Prince Shizor. I want to hang that on my wall. Then there's a Yoda, youngish Yoda, looking kind of horrifying, to be honest. I'm not a fan of that. But then there's old Yoda, and he looks great. So it balances out. Warlord Singe, who was a villain for a while. And then Zuckuss, the end. And now you get to the appendix, where we come across lesser personages of note, like Jagged Fell, Baron Fell's son, Lord Hoth, the Top Knot Master, a Horseman, and Dexter Jetster, who really should have gotten his own page. And that is the new Essential Guide to Characters. Delightful. And there you have it, boys and girls. 2 very essential guides to a bunch of very essential characters. Although the jury's still out on whether Elder Sticketh is all that essential. So that was a nifty little look back at the characters of Legends, but guess what? There are more of these essential guides, a bunch more, and we got more coming. So stay tuned, because the summer of Legends is gonna continue. Until next time, folks, I'm Andrew Fantasia, and may the force of others be with you.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.